So good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from today. Welcome to today's informative Friday session, Data Retention and Archiving, which is being presented today by Mike Smith, Glenn, David, and Edward Ray. My name is Molly Velasco, and I will be helping moderate the session today. Please be aware that this session is being recorded. Quick logistical information before we get started. Please use the chat feature to ask any questions throughout the presentation, and we'll be sure to address them. There will be a Q&A session at the end where you can come off mute and ask questions, but we ask that you please use the chat feature for questions during the presentation. We highly encourage you to take advantage of the time with our consultants today and ask questions and interact. A copy of the presentation and a link to the recording will be sent to all registrants. If you're not a registrant and you would like a copy, please send me an email and I will include you on the distribution. And I will drop my email into the chat here soon so that you have it. So next slide, we're just gonna hopefully, if you're all a little bit familiar with Nordic and Nordic ERP services, if not, just wanted to provide you a brief background on who we are and what we do. Nordic provides a broad range of consulting services, including strategic advisory, digital and cloud initiatives, implementation and support, as well as managed services. In partnership with our clients, we help solve complex IT challenges to help make technology more useful for care teams and more beneficial to the business. We consistently deliver business-changing impacts that make health systems and the people they serve healthier. So if you're thinking about moving to the cloud, on the next slide, if you're thinking about moving to the cloud or if you're going through an ERP selection process, Nordic's advisory services offers unbiased ERP reviews and selection services. We can help you identify the benefits of moving to a cloud ERP solution, manage the selection process, and measure the results. If you've already made the decision to move to the cloud, Nordic's prescriptive implementation process will help ensure that you follow a best practice approach to get the most out of your software for the least cost in the quickest amount of time. And for organizations that have already made the move to the cloud, at about 6 months after go live and every year thereafter, we recommend that you have Nordic perform an optimization assessment to make sure you've realized the value of the implementation and are taking advantage of the new features that are being added every other quarter. Nordic is there for you no matter where you are on your ERP journey. We encourage you to reach out to one of our solution experts via our website, or you can shoot me an email as well, and I can put you in touch with the correct person. So now real quick, we'll cover a disclaimer and then we'll move into today's presentation. So the material in this presentation is in reference to Infor Cloud Suite and is for informational purposes only. We just want to provide you with the considerations as you make the best decision for your organization. Reliance on the information presented without consultation is at your own risk. We highly recommend that you contact Nordic to discuss how solutions can be tailored specifically to your needs. With that, I will turn it over to today's presenters, Mike Smith, who is a director with our ERP team, Glenn David, who is a director of digital health, and Edward Ray, who is a senior consultant with our digital health team.
Yeah, hi everyone. This is Mike Smith. Quick intro, and then I'll get into the agenda. As Molly said, I'm a director for ERP services. I lead all of our technology team for delivery, and I'll turn it over to Glenn for a quick intro.
Yep. Hi, everyone. My name is, again, Glenn David. I am the director for our digital health data services practice. I come with over 20 years of consulting experience. Ed?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Ed Ray, Senior Consultant over Data Services Practice here at Nordic Global. I serve as the subject matter expert for data engineering. Prior to my time at Nordic, I was in the health plan space, as well as the provider-owned health plan space, and did 8 years in the military. So looking forward to this presentation and sharing what we've experienced along the way.
Go back a slide, please.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I'll just cover the agenda real quick. So we'll start with an overview, kind of baselining why we're here today and what we're going to, the topics we're going to be discussing. Then I'll cover some of the Infor delivered options for data retention and archiving. And then I'll turn it over to Glenn and Ed to talk about the Nordic digital health solutions to help solve this problem. And then we'll get to the conclusion and questions to wrap things up. So we can do next slide now. So overview, why are we here today? What's the topic we're discussing? So for clients that move to the Infor multi-tenant cloud, in almost every case, they do not migrate or convert all of their historical data, right? If you've been running Lawson for 20 years, it's a massive amount of data, and it's just time and cost prohibitive. So, you're going to have a set number of years that get converted or migrated over, and we'll talk about that a little more in the next slide. But so that's the general topic: is what do you do with that data? Part of the reason you go to the cloud is to not have to maintain an on-premise system anymore. But if you need, for audit purposes or otherwise, access to that historical data, how do you get that out of your on-premise system and into the cloud so you're not maintaining it? So that covers clients that are already live on the, FSM, HRT, you're live in the multi-tenant cloud, and you're currently keeping your old system live because, or either at a data level or the system itself is up because you need to be able to access it. And it also goes for clients that will be moving to the multi-tenant cloud, whether you're in the middle of an implementation or you're starting to plan for it. The earlier you start to analyze and come up with a plan of what you're going to do with that historical data once you're live, you can make that part of your implementation plan and have that in place for when you are live. And we're really focused on version 9 and version 10 and for Lawson clients here. But I just want to point out it's not limited to those platforms. The models we have built and stuff really focus on those data models, and they're very similar between 9 and 10, as most of you probably know. But this concept isn't limited to those. So if you're coming from a different legacy ERP system, or you need data from Meditech or whatever, the same concepts that we're going to talk about today, most of them can be applied to those other non-Lawson systems. Next slide. So what are the Infor delivered options? So one, and this applies to if you're using the Infor DMF, which is the data migration factory. The data migration factory is going to migrate your data into HRT and or FSM. But does it technically have the ability to migrate all your history? Yes, but in all cases, they will not. What they're going to recommend is 3 years of history, right? So if you've been live on Lawson for decades, you're going to have a lot of data that does not get migrated in. So the DMF does have an add-on service. It's not part of the base offering, but it's something you can purchase that will load all of your version 9 or version 10 data into the Infor data lake. On top of that, they deploy some pre-built content, so burst models, dashboards, and reports that allow you to access that data. All the data is loaded into the lake. Can you access all the data via the reports that are delivered? Likely not. But you could always extend what is delivered in burst, but that would take, a burst developer, whether you have someone on your internal teams that could do that, or you would need to engage, implementation partners that can do burst development to extend that. But it is a fair amount of content that is delivered, and it's evolved over the last couple of years. So that's one option, but it's an option if you're using the data migration factory. An additional option to just get the data into the lake is there's this concept of data loaders within Ion. And you can use those data loaders to just extract all that data from an on-premise database and load it into the Infor data lake, right? So at that point, the data is in the Infor cloud, and it's accessible in the sense of Compass SQL, JDBC, or API. So it's a more technical way to access the data. So if you just need to be able to shut down your on-premise database and system in the old Lawson system, this can get the data into the cloud. So technical resources could access it or build reports off of it. But for functional users and end users that need actual reports, if you have regular reports, like to be able to look at old PO data or something, you're going to have to build that, right? So you'd either need to use Burst to build it or some other tool that can access the Infor data lake and build those reports out for them. There's handful of different options there. But, in most cases, you're going to need an implementation partner like Nordic to try to make a lot of that data more useful, unless you truly just want to have it archived so it can be looked at from a technical, query standpoint. It will offload it from on-prem, but there will be additional services needed to build a way for users to have reports on that data, whether it's in burst or one of many other options. So those are the kind of the two out of the box Infor options to get that data off of on-prem and into the Infor data lake. Both of them do the same thing as far as getting it into the lake, but the difference between the options is how are you going to access that data from a reporting and dashboard standpoint. So from here, I'll turn it over to Glenn, and we'll talk about the Nordic digital health solution.
Right. Thanks, Mike. Right. So just level setting. When at Nordic, when we talk about archiving, what archiving is not for us is maintaining an unsupported legacy application, because we see an inherent risk in that. It's unsupported. If there are things that happen to the data or to your servers, then the data is lost or corrupted. Archiving is also not for us just putting data in a cold storage, putting in there just in case you need it, if there is a regulatory problem, or if there are any, for example, for HR, any personal issues, then that's the only time that you pull the data, and you take about 2 to 3 days in order to pull that data and make it available. The perspective that we have for archiving is that you should be able to actively use the data at the point of the transaction. Users should not have a problem, or there should not be a delay in being able to access legacy information. And then you should also be able to derive meaningful insights from your legacy data. So you should be able to bridge the gap between your current data in the cloud suite, as well as your legacy information, not just for 3 years, but for the life of the data that you have. A lot of organizations now are very data hungry. They want to be able to create insights, use algorithms, and also use it as a way to predict what is going to happen based on past performance. So we want organizations that we've consulted with, this is one of their goals, to be able to bridge that data. The archive that we are envisioning is also something that is integrated in your data ecosystem. So very few organizations now have ERP data in a silo. ERP data is used with EHR data, with other data sources to create different types of analytics. Like one thing that's top of mind would be cost accounting, being able to bridge EHR data, supply chain data, in order to create those insights. And you should be able to do that easily, not just be limited on what's in the cloud suite or what's the 3 years that you migrated into the cloud suite. You should be able to do that even beyond the data that was migrated. The other part is you want your archive to be cost efficient, right? Like so there's a cost in maintaining unsupported, unlicensed versions of your legacy application. And any of the archiving vendors, there is an inherent cost in that. Some of the one of the goals here is to be able to have liberty in being able to store your legacy information and be able to use your modernized BI, for example, Power BI or Tableau, the things that you're already paying for, to display your analytics so that you can bridge that gap, create those meaningful insights. So Nordic, for archiving, we have partnered with many of the big data archiving vendors like MedicOne, LK, and we can talk about that, and we can talk to you about a solution or a partnership if that's the route that you're going to. But for this presentation, there is a niche solution that we have created that brings in, we have our own data model using that's compatible with version 9, version 10 of Infor that we can store in a cloud suite. And for some of our clients that are still on premise, be able to use that data model in their SQL servers and visualize that either in Power BI and Tableau and expand upon that model. What this solution does is also to bridge that gap between your new information and your legacy information. So Ed, can you move to the next slide? Right. So before Ed discusses the this ERP data bridge, as we call it, I just wanna highlight other challenges and really expand upon what Mike said about the data loaders in Ion, about Infor DMF, those solutions are available right now. So not going through the entire slide, but just highlighting a few other challenges. The first one, again, is the complex data migration using Infor DMF. We have a limited look back period, about 3 years. And that's where information then gets broken. So if you want to bridge more than that, it's a very manual process at that point, wherein you try to bridge the data through spreadsheets or through other means in order to create meaningful information. The second one that I want to highlight is the restriction in the database access. What we're finding out from some of our data-hungry customers is that they want to be able to model the data and sometimes even expand on the data model that's specific to their needs. So this data bridge solution that we have gives you that flexibility, because this will be your own version of the SQL Server model. Your own version of the data model, ERP data model in SQL Server, and you'll be able to create new data models, either relational or in a dimensional data model, or you can also combine that with other data sources such as your EHR, Epic data, or Cerner data. The other limitation that I just want to highlight is the functionality gaps. Like as Mike mentioned, there is a standard set that you will be getting once you get to the cloud suite, and more often than not, that's not enough for organizations. So there's a lot of consulting resources that are spent creating reports that are tailored to the solution. What this solution that we're going to present will do is you're able to use your modernized BI stack, Power BI, Tableau, or Click, right? And be able to use that in a reusable manner so that whatever analytics you develop, you can also apply or append to other data topics that use ERP data that meld with other types of data sources. And then the last one I want to highlight is the limitation of advanced analytics. We live in a world now, right, that we need to have data, not just in a modernized BI visualization, but something that integrates with a data science stack. So you should be able to use R, Python, or your notebooks in order to get to that data easily and securely and be able to create the insights that you need. Right. So setting the stage there, I'm going to turn it over to Ed to discuss about the solutions that we've implemented in a few health systems. Ed?
Thanks, Glenn. Yeah, and so I guess going back to a couple of things Glenn spoke about was really some of the challenges that we've seen our clients experience, whether that's from data migration, whether that's from having a finite amount of resources, not having the ability to migrate all of their data and being limited to just 3 years. We really started to meet with different clients to understand some of the challenges, and then how do we address those challenges. And DataBridge really became our solution for that, right? And so as we went through this development process, we broke it down into a couple of categories that we wanted to make sure that our clients saw value. That one was integration, the ability for us to bring that data into a warehouse, into a data lake, where it can be coupled and modeled with other different data, whether that's EHR data or publicly available data, but also recognizing that you can have all of the best data in the world, but it doesn't become actionable if your users do not know how to interact with it, if there's not a user-friendly interface, an ability for them to go from data to insights, as well as governance. We know data governance is a huge issue. We know data governance really becomes the leading factor behind the quality of data, as well as how we manage our data. And so keeping that also as one of the forefronts as we went through the development of DataBridge. So the concept and DataBridge essentially it becomes a reporting tool that helps you integrate not just your ERP data, but also data that you have from multiple sources. It allows you, the benefit of it is when we talked about cost, it allows you to use some of your native tools, whether that's Power BI, whether that's Click, Tableau, whatever it may be, whatever your organization's preference is, to then visualize and get to insights for some of those data. Glenn mentioned advanced analytics, really moving from just your standard year numbers to how do we as a business drive innovation? How do we derive trends? How do we make informed decision based off of our ERP data? And then again, I will keep probably hammering this is the reduced licensing. So being able, you're not buying a new tool if you are a Microsoft house and you have Power BI. The DataBridge essentially brings that into a data lake. From there, you are able to slap your Power BI dashboard and visualize that. And that is something Nordic helps you throughout this process as well as if it's Tableau, we have all of those resources to support you on that journey and helping you minimize some of your associated cost. And so I'm going to jump quickly to the next slide and want to talk about some of the different use cases we've seen, whether that's supply chain or finance or your specific client needs. We've had clients who have said, hey, we don't want to change the feel of our current reports. We want it to be duplicated in our native BI tool. We want it to look just like it was before, so our end users are not having to learn a whole new process. And that's something that also can be done as a data engineer and someone with an analytics background, I enjoy taking it beyond that. And that is certainly one of the strengths of DataBridge. It's not just your click and drop report, it's the ability to create some of those, for better lack of a better word, I'm going to say fun visualizations for you to really understand what is going on within your business. Um, Going to the next slide. So how the architecture
Hey, Ed.
behind, yeah, I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Yes.
let's go back to that last slide. I just want to. Oh, yeah, there you go. So the reports that we have here are the reports that are readily available. This ERP data bridge is, again, it's a data model that Nordic developed where you can put in Infor data, readily put Infor legacy data, and be able to visualize your legacy information. And it allows you to sunset your legacy application. So the reports that you have here is our starter set. We're not limited to this. Again, we can expand it. And as we deploy this in more and more health systems, this starter set will continue to expand. But as Ed said, like there are different requirements. Some of our clients want to see the data as how it's presented in Infor, so that the learning curve goes down. And that's something that we have done. And for some of our clients, they've requested for more complex data visualizations, which we have also included in the library here. Go ahead, Ed.
No, thanks, Glenn. Yeah, and just a little bit to expand on that. Within the day, like what you're going to have are your various schemas, right? And your schemas will be applicable to their appropriate area. So you're within your supply chain or your finance, for those of y'all who are familiar with activities tables, as well as so having all of those additional schemas where you're able to quickly pull out data, but also having the ability to then couple them with non-ERP data. And so from a Nordic architecture perspective for Data Bridge, it really starts with grabbing your version 10 and your version 11 and bringing that into a repository. From there, that goes through a transformation process. We work with your teams to understand, okay, what are the standards models you would like to have, whether that's duplicating what's currently within N4, but also saying, why limit it there? Let's take it above and beyond and create some of those things that you wish to see. Some of those, how do you marry that with your ERP? The one, for example, using Epic does an amazing job at identity management. And so if you're looking to couple your ERP data with your EHR data, that functionality exists as well. And then again, where the value is, you're not having to purchase additional BI tools. You are able to use your native BI tools to visualize that. And so from an architecture perspective, you will have access to all of your different schemas, those that you are familiar with right now in N4, as well as creating those custom models that you would like to see. And so, again, where it gets a little fun and I'm a little bit nerdy from an engineering perspective is what this unlocks is now, what are some of the sources out there that you would like to bring in? Those publicly available data, those ERP, those financial data that may sit outside of N4, bringing that into your lake, architecting it in a way that you want, a way that is scalable, a way that's elastic, and a way that improves performance. Some of the feedbacks we've heard from our clients really is around the performance. You know, you're limited to those 3 years. And the driver behind that is as you start to bring in more than 3 years, your ingestion process, your ETL process, as well as your performance process do get affected. And so as a best practice, that is the driver behind why Infor recommends those 3 years. With our model, we significantly improve that performance, allowing you to not get to your data quicker, but move to those insights and those actionable items that you would like to see. Um, Molly, I'm gonna pause it there to make sure we don't have any questions before I move on to the next slide.
Right now, there's nothing in the chat.
Okay. I am going to jump to the next one, and then Glenn, this is on you.
Right. Thanks, Ed. All right. So for so for Nordic, like we'll meet you where you're at in your journey. So some of the folks that we've worked with are on the process of moving to the cloud suite, and then we've helped them in archiving their data. And some of the organizations that we work with are already in the cloud suite, but they are maintaining their own legacy, Infor version 9 or version 10, and we help transform that. What we do is we provide that end-to-end service where you're at in your journey. We can do requirements analysis, understand and collect information on what data you need to bring into an ERP data bridge solution. We also can assist you in collecting use cases, right? Like, so it's not just supply chain, finance, or HR, but what are the use cases that will use that data and then combine it with other data sources that can enrich the solution. We'll help you in transforming the data, in creating analytics outside the standard set. We can provide resources to help create your robust data visualization that your organization needs. And we also help with deployment and optimization post go live in expanding this data solution. So that is our presentation. Mike, do you have other things to add?
Yeah, no, I think that covered it from the Infor side, and thank you, Glenn and Ed, for your presentation and the information. Molly, I think we're ready for questions now, if anybody wants to come off mute.
So it looks like Mitch has his hand up. So go ahead, Mitch.
Hi, thanks. Good presentation. I had a question. You were on this couple slides back. You were showing the different functional areas and the data coming in, and you were showing reports like the out of the box. I think Edward said they're out of the box reports. So are you taking the loss in data? I mean, you have tools to extract the standard loss in tables and create those reports, those out of box reports.
Correct. So one of the things we did as part of with previous clients is really working with the clients as well as with the wealth of knowledge we have within our ERP side. It's really understanding the modeling of Infor, and that allows us the ability to bring that into the data lake and reproduce some of those historical reports that have been in version 9 and version 10. As part of the process, we not only go through that, but work with our clients to ensure the validation that it is a one-to-one match. That is something we've seen success in and intend to continue to grow on that.
Yeah.
So is the
But
data
Mitch,
stored in the cloud, and where is the data stored when you pull it out?
so it's either one, Mitch. So we have clients that are still on-prem, and we've used their Microsoft SQL servers to put our data models in there. The integration there, I would say, is a bit more challenging, right? But that's something that we were able to do. So put the data model in an on-prem server, visualize it in a Power BI report, and then build integration into the cloud suite. Going to the cloud solution is a bit, sorry, the cloud solution is better in terms of the integration challenges. But yes, to your question.
And I would add, it's not simply integration, but also the performance. Because from a data engine perspective, your performance tend to be a lot better when you are cloud native versus on-prem.
Okay, so you're saying basically you're like we're in the process of going to the cloud, not
Okay.
Infor. We have Lawson, we're going to the cloud, not Infor Cloud.
Okay.
So we have an issue with like the same thing you're talking about. We're bringing limited amount of data into the new system, into the cloud solution. So it's like, how are we going to report? Our users are still saying, yeah, but we need access to this. We need to archive this loss in data so we have access to it.
Yeah.
Not necessarily integration, and that might be being able to go into the cloud and say, I want this report that integrates data from the cloud solution as well as pulling in data from, from the archive. Is that what you're saying you're doing for your clients?
Correct. So I guess I'm going to first question: are you guys moving AWS or Azure?
You mean as far as product?
Correct. So when you say you're moving from on-prem to cloud, what cloud product are you all using? I just want
What
to get
ERP are you going to that's not Infor?
Oracle.
okay. So to your point, so in that scenario, if cloud was your preference, what we would do is take that Infor data from on-prem, and that can't live in the cloud. That would not be living within Oracle. However, we are able to extract if I understand your question, you're looking to how to couple the Infor data with the Oracle data in the cloud. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, I'm just saying, is
Yeah.
that something that I'm not even sure if that's a requirement, because I'm on the IT
Yeah.
side. So we're
Yeah.
just looking at it. So I think it might just be our users need access to this data, but not necessarily integrated with the cloud. But they don't, as you were saying before, they don't
Right.
want to retain
Yep.
lost licenses. They
Yeah.
want to,
No,
pull
I
it.
think I get it. So Mitch, I think the first part to this, I mean, we haven't built that integration with Oracle going to our product, but that's that's something that can be done, right? Like it just takes man hours. But that said, you're in for legacy information. We can put that in a cloud or on premise. Let's say it's in a cloud, right? And you should be able to have your users go in there and be able to look at the legacy information and generate those reports. That's something that's already readily built.
Okay. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I just had the impression by looking at your slide that you've already developed a lot of the reports because of your
Yes,
understanding
yes.
of the input data and how the schemas are integrated
Yes.
or how they're developed. You can recreate some of these legacy reports that
Yes.
are
Yeah.
in-laws
Yeah, that's correct.
out of the box.
Out of the box, yes.
Okay.
Right. The solution they presented with the, as far as the legacy data and being able to view the reports on the legacy data is your future ERP agnostic, right? What we have experience with, because just our Infor team's expertise, is then being able to marry that with your Infor Cloud Suite data is a more holistic solution. But just being able to view your legacy reports, that would be the same as what they just showed.
Okay.
And I will add, if you have any detailed questions, we're happy to slap some time and go and learn a little bit more about that, as well as how that solution can benefit. But ultimately, the answer is yes.
Great, thank you.
Okay, we have another question from Jesse. So he was asking, does your solution cover security, such as roles already defined within Landmark and or the data fabric?
Let me get the, sorry.
Yeah. So we actually piggyback on the security. So if it's fabric, like the roles that are associated, that's part of the requirements gathering phase that we have. So short answer, it's not pre-built. We use the security that's already defined by the organization, and then we apply that to the schema that we implement. Does that answer your question, or do you have other questions after that?
That
Yeah.
That was the only question in the chat so far. Give it a minute in case people are gathering their thoughts. Okay, well, I think we can go to the next slide. So if you do find that you have further questions down the road, please keep our Coffee with Consultants offering in mind. It allows you 30 minutes of complimentary time with one of our consultants to get your questions answered or even solve a pain point. You can go to our website and sign up, and someone will be in touch. Or as always, you can send me an email and I will get you in touch with the right person. So then this was our last session of our February series of Informative Friday. Our next quarterly series will be in May, so look for topics in early April along with registration information. And then finally, hopefully we'll get a chance to see you at a few Infor events in the next few months. Our team will be at IMUG in April, as well as Infor Connect in May. So please look for our team there, introduce yourself. We'd love to get a chance to talk to you in person. So thanks everyone again for your time today. Thank you to our presenters. Very informative presentation, great information. And everybody enjoy your weekend.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.